The myclimate impact label, Paris-compatible climate protection. If we are to achieve the Paris climate goals, then the private sector is more important than ever. The myclimate impact label denotes companies and organizations that proactively and voluntarily commit to climate protection by financing climate protection projects. In addition to avoiding and reducing the company's own emissions, this represents an important component of a net zero climate strategy. What is the myclimate impact label? The myclimate impact label is awarded to companies or organizations that provide financial support for climate protection projects to an extent that matches their carbon footprint as verified by myclimate. In these projects, the corresponding amount of greenhouse gas emissions is saved or removed from the atmosphere and stored. At the same time, the projects improve the quality of life of the local people involved and promote biodiversity. How exactly are emissions reduced in a climate protection project? In India, for example, small-scale biogas plants for families are being set up. Cooking with biogas from animal dung means that less forest is cut down, so the carbon remains stored in the trees. At the same time, there is less soot formation in houses. Chemical fertilizers are replaced by biofertilizers, and girls and women no longer have to spend hours collecting wood and can instead pursue more productive activities. With a myclimate impact label, companies can transparently communicate the impact of the climate protection projects they finance. This allows them to bring their efforts in line with the Paris Agreement. What is the Paris Agreement? In December 2015 in Paris, the countries adopt the Paris Agreement. With it, they want to limit global warming to well below 2, if possible 1.5 degrees Celsius. This is something new. In the era of the Kyoto Protocol, only industrialized countries had committed to a climate target. Under the Paris Agreement, almost all countries now have their own targets. The Paris Climate Agreement proposes that, to boost the level of ambition, countries voluntarily work together to achieve their national climate targets, so-called Nationally Determined Contributions, or NDCs. Article 6 of the Paris Climate Agreement sets out binding rules and frameworks for the trading of CO2 certificates between states, which are also to be applied in the voluntary market for companies and private individuals. One important goal of the regulations is to prevent any double claiming of CO2 certificates. Climate protection projects already played a central role under the Kyoto Protocol, whereby the generated CO2 certificates allowed a company to offset its carbon footprint. Now, however, the Paris Agreement, which came into force on the 1st of January 2021, gives each country its own climate target, meaning there is a risk of double claiming. Double claiming occurs when two parties claim one and the same certificate. In the future, a corresponding adjustment is to allow the project country to waive a credit against its own greenhouse gas inventory. This enables a company to claim the project certificates for itself and call itself climate neutral. In the case of certificates without corresponding adjustment, the privately financed climate protection project benefits the country's climate protection target. The company waives the crediting and communicates the impact. It is still unclear when and how many certificates with corresponding adjustment will be available. Financing climate protection supports other countries in reaching their climate targets and thus the achievement of the global targets. This is important because many countries do not have sufficient financial resources to implement climate protection measures on their own. At the same time, companies can use the myclimate impact label to communicate their commitment and the resulting impact with transparency and integrity. myclimate, shape our future.